Hi, everyone. Hello. Thank you all for joining me for Think on This. And in case you don't know, what Think on This is, that is my. Let's start here. Things happen in life, right? And everyone has an opinion or something to say, and that's their right, right? We talk about things all the time, and that's you're right. So what Think on This is my point, my viewpoint on different things happening in life, whether it be love, relationships, ministry, work, things dealing with your family, what have you. I hope you tuned in when I did the love edition. If not, you can go back and watch that on my platforms. My platforms on YouTube. Also, you can watch me on my Facebook pages. That's just my 2 cents, Elder Tamiko Smith. And then when I'm going on, sometimes it's on my TLS Ministries page. And so that is what Think on This is. And so today I want to talk about confidence. I want to talk about confidence and competence. We're going to have the conversation. So if you're on and you're watching, say hello, like, and share. Okay, so we're going to get into the conversation. On today, I want my panelists, my guests, to introduce themselves and say their occupation, and then we're going to just dive into the conversation. So I want you to relax. Let's get in. Let's talk about confidence and competence. And I'm going to tell you what led me to want to discuss this on this month.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Elder. I am Tyra Oliver. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm really glad to be here today to talk about this very thing. It's something that I face with all the time, working with my clients and working with the people, my whole clientele. So I'm excited about today to bring up this opportunity to talk about what it does mean, confidence and competence, even like right now. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks. So I will have the conversation. So not too long ago, I was looking at a clip. It was a video clip of Serena Williams as a young girl with her father. And she was being interviewed. And she was saying something about she's going to win. And, she's sure she's going to beat, her, the person that she would be in a match with. And so the interviewer actually said, "You sure of that?" And she was like, "Yeah, I am. I'm sure of it." And he said again, "So you sound so confident." And she said, "Because I know I can. I know I can beat them. And so I will." And so he asked her again, "So why is that? Like, why do you think that?" And so her father jumped up and he got right into the interviewer's face. He said, "Wait a minute. If she said that she's confident and she believes she can win, why are you, that's it. She said it. Why are you continuing to ask her the same question over and over again?" And so they tried to even like stop him and say like, "Hey, we're having this conversation. I'm just asking the question." And he said again, "No, you asked her the question. She said what she believes. So why are you doing it? Like you trying to make her change her mind." And I thought that was really something. So just from that standpoint, as a child, I thought that was powerful, and I also thought that was really something, right? So with that said, I don't know if the interviewer thought that, if that was their intention, but that's definitely what the father picked up on. And so, Tyra, can you talk to something like that? Like, not even with that, whatever it is, when a person exemplifies or shows confidence in a statement or whatever, the way they are, and when someone says something, what can that do?
Well, I think from that experience, from that interview, the person wanted, the first thing that came to my mind was like break them down. But yet she was still firm in what she said. So to me, it means that the other person's, their own experience, their own way of seeing things, and maybe they already made their own judgment about Serena, that they decided to be so confident about this situation without maybe really understanding and knowing her, even though she had been playing and all of that. So in general, I think people try to break you down because of their own maybe insecurities and maybe feeling threatened by so much of your confidence that you might be projecting that they can't handle it. That's kind of what I think about it.
Oh, I like that, what they can't handle. And so that leads me to like what I said, should you shrink yourself for someone else? Should you shrink who you are for someone else to feel comfortable? Should you shrink yourself for someone's comfort? And I want to talk about that, as we just said, relate to confidence, because sometimes people can, just because you're naturally being who you are, like I said, that was just one thing, but I'm sure there are many people that have experienced different things, and you're just being you, right? You're just being you. You're showing up as you. You feel confident, you're competent, and whatever it is, it says your job. Say you're serving in ministry, say whatever, your business, whatever you're engaged in, you feel confident. And here comes someone with those words. Y'all ever heard that? Who they think they are, or they think they all this, or that. How can, and then you've dealt with that, but how, Tyra, if you could say, how could that make someone feel? Because I think it's two ways of that. You just being you, showing up, being you, showing up with your ideas. We talk about confident, and you get that. Or even if it's not expressed who they think they are, sometimes it's implied that people think something. So how do you address that?
I think what happens is, I can say from my own experience, you begin to, kind of maybe question yourself, but you shouldn't, because you know what your skills are. That's why you're bringing up competence. You know what your skills are. You know why you're there. You know what your purpose is. But other people, again, may not know that, or may not care to know because of the way that they look. So to answer your question, I would say, no, I shouldn't shrink myself because of somebody else's insecurities. I can help them be better at what they're doing. But no, I wouldn't say I should shrink myself regarding that. I think that initially that feeling is, no, I'm not trying to be better than. I'm just being me. Like you say, I'm just being me. I just want to do this job. I just want to help this person. Allow me to do that without all of the naysaying per se.
Okay, so that's a interesting standpoint. But what happens though then when, if that continues to happen, have you, it could say it can break a person down, maybe change a person, because they're now looking, sometimes people will question themselves, well, did I do that? Am I being too whatever? So what happens like in that instance?
Well, still, I think we all should be evaluating ourselves. I think we should always have a self-evaluation of who we are, what we stand for, why we're doing what we're doing, what's our motivation. And once you clear the air with yourself, then you can't worry about the next person's perception of you or their perspective or what you're doing. You have to just stand firm in what you're doing because you've already evaluated why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's important. And if you allow that person's maybe negative or even the aura in the room to cause you to kind of faint or, like you say, shrink back, then you're not going to fulfill your purpose. You're not going to do what you feel that you love you're doing and why you're doing it in the beginning.
Okay, so that's good. I always talk about purpose because I believe in that. When you know who you are, you should walk boldly and confidently in that. But if we can be honest, sometimes people, they cower back from that. Because sometimes you get tired of hearing negativity when you're just trying to be positive, just be yourself. And then sometimes it will cause people to get in the background and say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Let me just be quiet. Have you ever seen that, witnessed that, that comes out? Just as I said, someone just trying to be themselves. Being themselves is serving. I said, whether you serve in ministry, serving at church, I always call it serving. The work that I do, I call it serving. Just being whatever, serving with your family, serving with your friends, and then this type of thing. So what happens if we can be honest? I'm sure there's some people that are watching now, will watch later and say, hey, and I just stepped back. You began to feel small because of how someone else was viewing you.
Well, I think about the workplace. I think about the work that I do, both, for as a clinical social worker, and then when you go to a meeting or when you are in a room with the other senior leaders, how do I respond? And then you can kind of take a sense of the room. So in that case, you may determine that I shouldn't speak up, but the bottom line is, I have those feelings, but the bottom line is you still have something important to say, and someone else may give that other person some encouragement if you do speak up. But you're right. There are times based on what environment you're in that you may say, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything. But that's not all right. And a lot of times because you may have something really important to share that someone else may need it to hear.
And I like that. So again, because if we're talking about real life, it happens not just in the workplace, it happens in church. I've seen it. You've been in church my whole life, have served, have led ministries, been a part of things. Even I could say, even now, sometimes just going into places, you can hear you can hear when the negativity sometimes just from you walking in the room. It's like, wait a minute. And just, so sometimes I think for some people, they will, cower back. They will become small. They will shrink themselves, and it's not okay. I don't think it's okay. But we're looking at the reasons as to why people do that. And so when we say that with confidence, did not God create us in his image and after his likeness? And so if we're created in God's image and his likeness, shouldn't we be confident in who we are and not worry about being accused? Because, people like to say I'm arrogant or they think they're all that. But if we serve a God that's all that, shouldn't we feel that way about ourselves? And so if we should feel that way about ourselves, what stops that then? What stops?
I just think we still have we have experiences. I think we do have people who are mean. I think people do say mean things. People do, their body language shows a lot. I think, so it still goes back to that self-evaluation, like you said, reminding yourself who you are and whose you are. I mean, and it might sound cliche-ish, but it's not. But really in those moments, reminding who you are, yourself, that self-affirmation. Like, yep, I'm going to wear this dress, or yep, I'm going to wear my hair this way, or I love this color because I like it. Not because of what you might say. And I think if we will really continue to make sure that we affirm ourselves and surround us with those people who affirm us as well, then even when you have those experiences or the naysayers or whatever, you can still walk tall and remind yourself, who am I? I'm
like
fearfully and I am wonderfully made.
You but can still walk tall.
Right. But in those moments, you still have to remember who you are, because those things are going to come. People are going to have stuff to say. And we always say, when we were growing up, someone's going to like you, and then the next person with the same hairstyle, they're not going to like it. So then what I'm going to do? I'm going to like, oh my God, I'm going to switch? No. I have to know who I am right then in those moments and still be able to walk tall and bold.
Okay, you said a lot there. You said a lot there, which is good. You have to know who you are in that moment. You have to know who you are in that moment. I say even beyond, when it passed. And sometimes people think when we're talking confidence, it's not just the outer display. It's not just that, because people will look and they'll talk. But when you're putting your best self forward and then you're hit with the negativity, it can be tough. And sometimes you will question, yourself, like, wait a minute. It could shrink your confidence. It could make you question your ability. It could make you question your skill. It could make you question your purpose. And so when we talk about that, I like what you said, is affirming yourself. And, sometimes people may think that's arrogant, but you got to have self-love. Absolutely. You have to first, God loved us. We got to learn to love ourselves. You have to have self-love, and then surround yourself with people that think you're the bomb. Do you understand? And that's what I believe. And then why it is important. And it's not, let's talk about this, because sometimes people think when you say that you're seeking attention. I don't believe it's about attention. We live in a world where nobody's shut in their house every day. We got to get out. We got to work. You're going to church. You're going to activities. You're going to events. You're with friends. You're with family. You're going to encounter other people. So with that said, what is important for you when you get up and start your day? What do you think is important for, if I just say you or just people in general, what do you think is important for people to do as they get out to start their day?
Well, you already mentioned self-love. I mean, already just knowing who you are and self-love, and what again goes back to that purpose. And why are you getting up? And now I'm up. And what do I have to do today? Recognizing, like you say, you're gonna have all kinds of things that may come at you. So then, in those cases, just knowing who. I keep going back, and what I'm hearing is knowing who you are and then really walking in that. And it is a challenge, because if that is something that you feel or maybe have an experience of really lacking confidence, then you recognize, well, that's where I need to grow in. So then you will have to really keep cultivating what I need to do differently to stand bold and tall when I wake up that morning. And I got to face the people at work, or you walk in the room with all the ladies, for example, or you walk down the hallway, a certain way that we present ourselves, that's who you are. And so you have to be honest with yourself too, and also recognize this is who I am, and you have to love it first. Because if you don't love it, you already know you got the negativity that's coming your way.
Okay, that's good. I like that you have to love it first. But I want to tap in on something else there, because sometimes people have the perception that what we do it for others. So like what you put on and how you present yourself, you do it for others. And I think that's a big misconception for the most part. And I want to talk about that. I was at an event not too long ago. And I enjoyed the event. You know, I'm there. I'm just, there in support, and I'm enjoying myself. And later on, I talked with a friend, and they was just saying, yeah, they were there and they saw me, and they began to say, and this is a friend. So again, I don't think it was anything malicious behind it, but it just made me like, really? So I was, like I said, I was at this event, and so I had a conversation with a friend later on following, and they were just saying, yeah, I saw you. And they were just telling me that, maybe next time you do something like that, you should probably sit to the side, or sit here, or sit in a place where you're not seen so much. And I'm like, huh? And they was like, yeah, well, because you're tall. And so because you're tall, you command attention anyway. Then you got the hair, and then your dress and different things. Nothing was wrong, but just try to be off to the side or whatever. And so I had to think, I'm like, wow, and so again, it's perception. This is a friend. So I don't think I won't say I don't think. I know it was nothing malicious behind it, but I'm saying to myself, wow, why do I have to change who I am and how I am? I'm tall. This is what it is. This is what it is. I'm tall. Okay, this is how I choose to wear my hair. I choose to wear certain clothes. This is me, and with that said, it made me think, because again, I know they were not being malicious, but it just made me think about perception. Like we have to deal with this when we go places. People questioning you or want you should hide back and go over there and do that because of who you are. You're walking in your confidence. And so with that said, sometimes I think people that don't have, I would say, if I did not have the level of self-esteem and self-love and confidence that I have, I would be broken down, because it's like, wow. And I've not only dealt with that in church, I've dealt with it, at work. And it's like when I come in the room, people have to sit up straight and get together. And I used to take it like, huh? Like I didn't know how to take it. Like, am I like that? And then the more I began to really understand who I am in God, who He created me to be, it made me like, okay, I'm glad people feel that I'm on their mind. I'm glad people feel they have to be a certain way when they're around me, when they're in my presence. I thank God for that. And so, but it takes some time, I understand, for some people to get there. It takes some time. And so what do you think about that? Because people always say, whatever. It's like, and I don't deal and I don't talk to people about what they wear, what they should wear. But sometimes it's like, why have to do what? Should my hair be in a French roll, a bun? Don't wear no makeup. I mean, and what I had on, everything was covered, when nothing's showing. It shouldn't even be about that. But what do you say to stuff like that? So even that, do we have to change how we are because somebody else thinks it's too much or what have you?
Well, again, it's that person's experience, it's that person's perspective. And no, I would say, again, when we come out, we've already did our self-evaluation, we know I'm covering all of that. No, I shouldn't have to change who I am because of that person's maybe insecurity, maybe feeling threatened, or maybe, I don't know. But no, I would say we shouldn't have to change for someone else. And then you may hear the people say, well, what about if it offends them? Then, like I said earlier, if one person will like my hair, the next person won't. So then what about my rights? So I just think, no, I shouldn't have to shrink, like you're mentioning. I shouldn't have to change. That's their concern. And if it's an issue for them, then they have to evaluate themselves and be honest about why they feel that way. I think that's what's important.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. And so, yeah, I want, for those that are watching, I want you to know this is not just about the outward thing, even though that comes into play. But I mean, period. Because again, sometimes people don't want you to speak up, or if you speak up, or you have an idea, you know, the way you're perceived, or like you say, could hear the whispers. Sometimes you just walk in a room, you know, and you know people are talking whispers. It's like, huh? Why? But I think again, when you know who you are, when you know who you belong, you are a child of the King. You are a joint heir to the throne. You belong to God. You are fearfully. God said we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. And so we ought to have confidence. And the confidence is just not in me. When I say I'm confident because of the God in me. I'm confident because of the God in me. So I just want to encourage those of you, because I know it's a real thing. I know it's a real thing that happens. It happens every day. People deal with at work. Oh, you deal with at church. That's why some people don't want to sing in the choir. That's why some people don't want to be on the praise team. That's why some people don't want to serve in ministry anymore. Oh, come on. I've been in church my whole life. I have served. And that sometimes, you know, the competition or the comparison or making you feel down, we should not be feeling that way. Not as believers. Not as believers. And when I say that goes beyond Sunday. So we go in there, we're getting built up, and not only that, we're in our word, we're understanding who God says who we are. We ought to walk with that same confidence. You know, we ought to walk with that evidence that you do belong to somebody. Okay? All right. And so I wanted to talk about that, about perception. So when you do, if you come across where someone has perceived you wrong, or maybe a negativity, how should you handle it? What do you think?
Well, when you said that, I just took me back to one of my experiences about 6 years ago. I remember, I'm a military member. I remember my first deployment, and that deployment was I was a first lieutenant, promotable. What that means, I was ready for promotion, but I had to wait on those orders to come. So I already knew, unfortunately, as a first lieutenant, if you don't know me, you would think I had no experience. You're a new officer, you're a junior officer, you don't have any experience. So those who didn't know me, they assumed I didn't have any experience. And unfortunately, that caused a little bit of conflict, just because I had to work through the growing pains and say, no, this is what I do. I've been doing this work. I'm skilled. I've been doing this work for a long time. So with that being said, I would say, still evaluating who I am. Yeah, did it hurt? Absolutely. It took some time to get through that experience. As far as, no, I'm doing my job. I'm here to do a job. But just people looking at you from the outer without really getting to know you, again, goes back to, I shouldn't have to prove myself. I'm here to do a job. But again, it's on you if you have some concern about what you think I am. And that's how I take it.
So yeah, I and it can be tough when you're dealing with that. And I can say that I've reached the age, definitely reached the point in my life, definitely, like I say, within my career. In my career, I'm considered an expert. I'm considered expert in my field. And at times, sometimes I there is no point. Sometimes people think I let people think whatever you want to think. That's even with church. Think whatever you want. I'm not trying to prove. I am who I am. Address me as such. You know, people think that's arrogance. It's not arrogance, because again, there are certain people you would not address certain people in a certain way. You know, we say that you go into a courtroom, you ain't even gonna say, "Man," you're gonna say to that judge, "Your Honor." You know what I'm saying? And so again, when you have earned, and again, it doesn't. We have to be careful with that, because, as you said, just because people they don't know you, then people will talk to you, think they can talk down to you, talk to you any kind of way, treat you any kind of way, and we shouldn't treat anyone any differently than what we ought to want to be treated. We shouldn't be treat anyone just because someone has confidence and are competent in who they are and what they know they were created to do. Why should they be the recipient of your negativity? The recipient of backlash, recipient of gossip. And unfortunately, it happens. It happens. It happens a lot. It happens a lot, you know, and it happens a lot of times. and it's not even warranted. As you said, you're just being you. You're just being you. And I think sometimes it goes back to people's experiences, how they were raised, how they were brought up, what they encountered, who encouraged them, who talked to them, who told them how to be, who poured that into them. And so we think about that. If you had to give some advice to a young person coming up, what would it be about confidence? Some advice to a young person coming up. What would it be?
I would say, again, still learning who you are, evaluating what you will want for yourself and how you want to operate. Like when you go to work or you're in school or even around your friends, just knowing who you are, having that foundation doesn't mean we know everything. We continue to learn some of what our limitations are. We continue to learn what our strengths are when we have experiences. But for that young person, I would say just kind of recognizing who you are and knowing that you continue to mature. And as we've been saying throughout this broadcast, that, surround yourselves with people who are like-minded. Unfortunately, you're going to have what we say, those who are the haters. But really for that young person to recognize that even though you may have haters, kind of even evaluate that. Why? What they hating on for? What's that about? So that you can kind of feel and kind of look differently. Well, what I need to do differently? Or do I remain the same? Because I like what I'm doing. I like how I wear my hair. So just really continuing to fill yourself with those things and evaluate yourself step by step with those experiences.
Okay. Y'all know, I promise you all, this not what she keeps saying here. Y'all keep hearing that come up. So I want people to, that's what they talking about here. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about confidence from the inside, the outside. We're talking about competence. And we're talking about the reality that people face. And I say young people, but they're older people too that deal with it. And we talk about haters. I know somebody's going to look back and watch this. There she go again. Yeah. Haters exist. And if you haven't experienced it, good for you. But it's a real thing. It's a real thing. People hate on you. People don't even know you and talk about you and hate on you and criticize you and won't support you and all. But they know everything you got going on, but they won't support it. And so with that, I'm going to say this to those of you, because I know there are many of you that are involved in things. And you look sometimes like the numbers aren't added up, meaning you may not have a crowd, or it looks like the numbers not adding up, like you don't have the support, and you can feel like, oh, well, am I doing the right thing? Maybe this is not what I should be doing. I want you to believe what God told you for your life, for your path, and for your journey, because trust me, people are watching you. Yeah. People are watching, and sometimes people, they watch because they want to hear mess and negativity. They'll respond to that more than they will something positive. And so even when it seems like the math ain't math, and it seems like, people are talking about you, critiquing you, criticizing you, but not supporting you, you have to remain confident in the God that lives in you. Remain confident in the God that created you and walk in your purpose. I want you to think about that. Think on that. Confidence. Don't let someone make you feel bad about being confident. Don't make someone make you feel small because you're competent. You're competent. God created us with a purpose. And because you found out what your purpose is, don't allow a hater to make you feel bad because they ain't yet walked into that.
Because you still have a purpose. You still got to finish that job. And that's all I kept thinking about with that experience. No matter what they're saying, I still had a job to finish. I had to complete that mission and complete it well. So the bottom line is we're going to have those feelings. I think we started out talking about how does it make you feel?
Yes.
We're going to have those feelings. But I'm saying don't remain there. Don't remain in that. Don't remain in someone else's perception of who you are. I think it's so important to continue to build yourself up. And as already Elvis stated, really knowing who you are and who you are, because you do have a purpose, and not allowing the naysayers or whomever. But it does start from within.
It starts from within. You know what? We have to start. How does God see us? God loves us. We got to start seeing us. If you don't see yourself the way God sees you, He thinks you're worth it. Hey, that's all right. You thought I was worth saving.
Yes.
You thought I was enough to die for.
Yeah.
Okay, so not just that he thought that, but how he looks at you. You are the apple of his eye. How does God see you? He loves you with your flaws and all. Your worth, see, when you know your worth comes from your creator, that's what we got to get to. Know where your worth comes from. Our worth comes from our creator. Your worth and your value comes from God. And when you know that, nothing can away from you. Yeah, like you said, you're going to go through some experience. I've been through some experience. I've been through it. You people talking about you don't like you, hate on. I'm going to say that I remember, oh my God, I won't even say the name, but I can remember the church ministry I was a part of, and I remember, and I always give honor to bridges that brought me over. And I remember I was the one to preach. When they would go out of town, I would be the one that they, I learned so much, from that. And I already had to fight because I'm a woman. I know there's some people probably thought, why she doing this? Y'all know that it's still that battle in ministry. Some people don't believe a woman should be doing. So I already know that when you leave a church, and it ain't no itty bitty church, you leave the church in the hands, of a woman while you're traveling or what have you, or you leave a service in the hands of a woman. And I'll never forget, and I didn't know this. And so that's what you say, it's important to have your people that's going to support you. So I remember standing, to preach y'all, and I'm in the two-piece suit, all that. So y'all know the shiny two, all that stuff. And, preaching. And I later on became great friends with a woman, and she's much. I won't say much. I won't say that until she sees us. But I can remember. I didn't know it then, but I was told. And I've had more than this experience, but I'm sharing this. And it was my first time preaching. Not my first time preaching. It was my first time preaching there for that Sunday morning service. And later on, this person said it was so many women just talking negatively about me. Look at her. What she got? And I promise y'all, I'd probably go back in a two-piece. Y'all know the shiny suits and all that stuff. And just was talking and talking about me. And this woman said, she was like, she tuned in. She said she just couldn't believe all the stuff that she was hearing around her. It's a Sunday morning, y'all, in church. And she said she began to tune in to me, to the preacher, the minister standing up. And she's like, wait a minute. She really could preach. She's really, she said she began to tune in. And she said she could not believe what she was hearing around her. So I had, like I said, people that I knew that were on my side, that gave me that support. But if you did not have confidence, now here I'm up there. There's all these people, hundreds of people out. I'm delivering the word of God, and they talking about me and not even knowing me. Not even knowing me. And so that led me to say this. If I was not confident in what God called and created me to do, I would not have been able to do it. Amen. Right. And now that's what we have to be mindful of what we throw out. Because what if now they missed it. And then some of those same ones that was talking about me, I had to go and do things for them and their family. You understand what I'm saying? But again, it's the confidence of the God in me. And this was a while ago, but you still experience that when you go into places. Sometimes people look at and don't even know you. What a disservice we do to ourselves and to others when we judge, we critique people on an appearance.
You say man looks at the outer,
but glad that God looks at the heart. I'm so glad that God looks at the heart. And so I want to encourage you, man, woman, boy, girl, whoever that may come across this, it's nothing wrong with having confidence because God created you with a purpose. And do not shrink yourself for someone else's confidence because they don't want to grow, because they don't want to do certain things. You don't have to shrink yourself because of someone else's level of comfortability. Okay? That's just like school. I chose to go further in school. Right. That doesn't mean I think someone else is smaller than me. But why do we attack people because of the things that they choose to do? Can we answer that? Why do you think people attack others because of their choices? When you're not attacking anybody, you're not saying, hey, why you didn't do this? Why you go to school? Why you get a degree? Why you got no makeup? Why you doing this? No, I'm serious. We don't do that. So why do you think people do that?
I just think it's because of their own fear, their own lack of confidence and competence, their own experience, negative experiences. And maybe that was done to them, so they figured they have to do it to someone else.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay. So do you think sometimes people, like I said, if I go back to that friend, I know it wasn't malicious, but I'm like, wow. So do you think sometimes people think they're being helpful when they offer certain words?
I would say probably on the surface, but when they really think about it and knowing the person, though, really knowing the person, they know that that's not what you were about. So then I would say they weren't being malicious, but just their own experiences in the form that you're in, maybe think that that's the way we should be, quote unquote.
Okay. So yeah,
like I kind of put on this persona for wherever you're at. That's what I'm saying. Like even at work, when I go into a meeting, should I be somebody different? I would say no. If I have something to say, I should be able to say it. But maybe this person was thinking, well, you're in this particular forum, you should present or act this way.
Okay. So we can accept that. But again, that comes from you all. You will be who God called and created you to be. Self-love is important. Confidence is important, because if you don't have it, the world will beat you down. I want to tell y'all that too, because if the world will beat you down, and I'm going to tell you, when you do have it, the world is going to try to beat you down. The enemy is going to try to attack you because of that. Because if they attack you, it gets you off of your assignment.
That's right.
It gets you off of your course. And so again, that's why I said, when I talk, if it ain't for you, it's not for you. But I'm glad that I know I'm able to reach someone, because somebody knows what I'm talking about. So yes, whatever you in, keep your business going. Keep your ministry going. Keep going after. You're pursuing the education, pursuing the goal, pursuing the vision, the dream. Keep doing it. Don't worry about if you don't got people watching you, because they watching you anyway. Don't worry about if you don't have people talking about you, because they talking about you anyway. I can guarantee you that your name is being spoken about people you don't even know, in places that you've never been. But I want to encourage y'all today that whatever the enemy is trying to do negatively, we serve a God that is well able to turn it around. And so my purpose for this thing of Think on This is to think about the confidence. And if you don't have it, ask God. To ask God to show you.
Yes.
Ask God to show you. And if you're the one pointing fingers at people, ask God to show you. Ask God to show you. We're going to get ready to close. I want to leave with this. Psalms 139, 13-14 say, for you created my innermost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Hey, that's a confidence boost right there. If you're fearfully and wonderfully made, hey, I'm God's handiwork. Your works are wonderful. Amen. That's good news. That's good news to me. That's good news on today. Your works are wonderful. So sell that. Are you a work of God? God made you. He created you. His works are wonderful. He loves you. He loves you and me. He loves us. Listen, he loves us so much so that he won't even leave us in the state that we're in. But he wants us to be built up in him. He wants us to be strong, to be bold, to be courageous. He wants us to exemplify love. Love ye one another, because God has loved us. Amen. And so think on this. If you see this or come across this, or in your interactions with people, think God thought we were worth dying for. He loved us that much that he sacrificed his son for you and I. So we ought to have love for one another. And if you're struggling with loving, you're struggling with being positive, you're struggling with talking about people, ask God to show you you. Ask God to fix your heart. Ask God to fix your mind. And ask God to show you what you ought to be doing. And for those of you that know you are fearfully and wonderfully made, those of you that know that God did something when he made you, keep walking in the boldness that comes from our Father. Keep walking in the confidence that comes with our Father. God bless you. Thank you all for tuning in, for Think on This. Share it, listen to it, embrace it. Don't you dare shrink yourself to someone else's comfort. God made you. He created you. He loves you. He knows you from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. May God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. I want to say thank you again to my guest panelist, Tyra Oliver, for tuning in and sharing in this conversation, because it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's something that happens. It's not just women. I want you to think that, but we got to lay it down, even with our children, boys and girls. Teach them who they are in Christ. And so when you come up against the enemy, when you come up against haters, when you come up against people that want to make you doubt who you are, remember, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in. Until we meet again, think on this. Bye.